Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, young men, young women. You are looking at Speak Your Mind, another Saturday night with John Lewis. Unfortunately, my co-host, Mr. Richard DeCastro, is unable to be with us again tonight. However, you have nothing to worry about. I am not going to be alone tonight. I have a guest. But before we talk to our guest, there are a few things I'd like to remind us about. And the first one is the search for a president for our local community college. Last week we talked about it. So I'm hoping that you have been able to tell a friend, tell a relative, or tell someone whom you know is capable of taking control of our college. Looking at the newspapers, I noticed that the VI Older sloop is in need of repairs. Now, as admirable as that may be, perhaps we need to think in terms of making a replica of this old boat. Yes, I know some of you will say, well, repair it the way it was intended to be, of wood. And yes, we can do that. But if we did, I would suggest that the wood that we use should be engineered lumber that will last for a long time. And the replica will still have the feel, the character of that old sloop. So if you have any input on that, you're free to call us at 300-1949. Now, tonight, I also want to talk a little about the House of Assembly passing a new alcohol and hotel tax. As well-meaning as these activities are in the House, I am not a politician, and so I'm not talking as a politician. I'm talking as a citizen. The matter of the alcohol tax and tobacco tax, they were dealt with sometime in the year. And it created a lot of confusion for the merchants. Now, perhaps, just perhaps, had we had one reading and then the matter was put out to the Chamber of Commerce and Hotel Association, where its members could have weighed in on it, or to the general public where we could have had input on the matter, we may not have had to go back to the House to amend or correct the issue. It seems normal now that we are having readings in the House, first, second, and third, without having given the public an opportunity to weigh in or give their suggestions as to how best they would like to be governed. And I think it behoves government to stop, look, and listen, and do the things which will create less confusion and make people a part of the process. Having said all of that, according to our local newspaper, Mr. Calvin Malone is retiring as the VIP president. It gives me pleasure tonight to introduce to you Mr. Calvin Malone, who will tell us why he is retiring, what he is likely to be doing after retirement, and a series of questions we will have for Mr. Malone. Now, before we get Mr. Malone to tell us why he's retiring, what he plans to do, I would like to ask him, why is the United Kingdom continuing to call for a public registry in the Virgin Islands or in its offshore territories? Mr. Malone.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say a pleasant good evening, and very good that I was able to be a guest on tonight's program, Speak Your Mind. It is a program that I think that Mr. Lewis had asked me to actually participate in before, and I missed the opportunity because I was unaware that it was going to create such a stir announcing that I would no longer stand for office for the presidency of the Virgin Islands Party.
Okay.
And, well, I'm one who would always feel that you can serve effectively, but then you must know when to exit the stage. Mm-hmm. So we'll speak about that tonight, and because there's some very important goals that were set. There were some very important landmarks that we had to meet, and I think that those were widely met, and we would have to see what the future holds. As it relates to the UK's demand, we would be exploring that some more, but okay. It is one in which all of the territories are being faced with, and we would have to see what is in the best interest of the Virgin Islands. And the UK know what is in the best interest of the UK, and the European communities know what is in their best interest, but we have to continually assess what is in the best interest of us here in the Virgin Islands.
As it refers to what's best for us, according to the newspapers, the Premier is to be in London, and some of the discussions should be around constitutional reforms. Now, how do these discussions fit into what you're doing or will do, and how will this shape the Virgin Islands?
Well, constitutional reform is a very important part of advancement because as we advance constitutionally, I have noted just in a recent program on ZBVI that it is important that whatever constitution reform is being envisaged, it must come from referendum. It must come from the people's voicing of their opinions and the aspect of the Constitution that would either enhance their particular life or reduce the stress as you go from one generation to another. So advancement is a must. Preparation for advancement is what the debate now is centered around, because we must be able to prepare our people for whatever is next. It has the financial implications, as I mentioned before. It has the social implications, and they have all of those implications that need to be addressed so that your quality of life is enhanced. The judiciary is looked at, and there are a number of other items that we would have to take in mind. But the topics that will be addressed in a constitutional reform, the ideas that will be received from communication with the public, are all items that that must be taken into full account.
In the most recent constitutional reforms, I think it was in
2007, I think.
2006, 2007.
Yeah.
The discussions didn't seem to engage most of the community. Now, would you have any suggestions as to how we can get the public involved more fully in these reform discussions?
Well, I'm not sure when you say it did not involve, because I happen to have been one of the.
Yeah, but
Yeah, okay, fine.
John Public wasn't, and if he was encouraged,
No, I
there
understand.
there was
Okay,
no
I understand the
enthusiasm.
question. Yeah, I understand the question. Well, again, how involved a person get all depends on the particular what they perceive as the outcome. If they reckon that there are decisions ready for a meeting, well, folks don't want to show and then just be a particular landmark or place mark saying that we had 25 or we have 250 persons there. Folks must be made to feel that their input will be valued, it will be it would be considered, and conclusions drawn based on the inputs that you received from the public. However, we would have to make sure that these are advertised properly. Folks are sensitized as to the importance of all of these reforms that are being looked at, and see how best you can relate it to everyday living.
Okay, if I were to compare some of the things your constitution, the VI Party constitution, includes representation from the 9 electoral districts.
Yes.
The NDP has a similar provision where representatives from each district be involved in the decision-making process. Now, if one was to take that line of argument and include it in constitutional reform, where each district will have a representative in the process, because it is probably easier for that person to go to the community from which he comes, get information and bring it to the constitutional review process, then you can probably get something out of it that better represents the community. What's your response to that?
Well, I think it is a fitting comment that you made in terms of the actual structure. If there's any message that I would like to send out, it is that of involvement, a message of involvement. Because if we fail as a people to hold accountable those persons who we're going to elect from every 4-year cycle, well, snap elections will make it a little shorter than 4. But the fact is that every 4-year cycle we would elect persons, be it the same persons or a new particular group. The involvement, because the structure of any political or viable party has to be where the community, the wider community, find a way in which their views could be expressed, could be debated, could be advanced to the different segments of government, into the House of Assembly, and become law. If this participation breaks down, then, as I mentioned before, you would have folks going to sleep, have a bad dream, get up, and the entire citizen just have to live it without their involvement. So if you have a dream waiting on people just to say yes and say no to, that would not work. You would be forever reflecting and deflecting and going back and changing and so forth. But if you bring it first to the people, if you have it debated by the people, and if you have it enacted for the people, then
the people can live with it.
That is correct.
I noticed you talked about snap elections, but snap elections are a part of the constitutional process.
No doubt.
And for me, it's not a snap election. For me, I interpret it as an election that the government of the day considered necessary if it wanted to continue its mandate. It's a debatable point of view, but if you take that, how does this fit into your decision to retire or give up the role as president of the VI Party? And what do you see happening now that you have stepped away from that role? And the second part of the question is it likely that you may consider another role?
Well, I'll take the first part and the first part only. Let us actually explore this concept of retirement. I have announced that I would not stand for re-election to the post of president of the Virgin Islands Party. It no way should be interpreted that I am leaving the Virgin Islands Party, or I'm leaving that whole arena of service that I've served for the past, all my life, because I've served on almost every statutory body of government, and I served mainly for 2, maximum of 3 terms. I would have served for 17 years as president of the Virgin Islands Party. And at the end of the day, it was my intention, and through a hard-working executive committee, we were able, with the body and elected members and those that were candidates during this particular process, 4 general elections, 1 by-election, and 2 reviews of the Constitution, we were able to put in place the structure that would allow participation from each of the 9 districts. Constitutions revolve.
And they evolve.
And they have to be. And they evolve. So the fact is that they have to be looked at and they have to be enhanced. My job, as far as I'm concerned, is actually completed in terms of the formation. What happens after will be that of analysis, and that in which you'll have to be sure that the next step or the next steps for public service would be carefully evaluated, so that the correct decisions are always made.
Okay. As a member of the Virgin Islands Party, before I forget, how is Mr. O'Neill doing?
Well, fine. Okay, good. As I mentioned on the last program that I was on ZBVI, I am in constant contact with his family. Happy to report that they have reported that he is in the rehab center. He is actually responding quite well to all of the treatments that he's actually receiving. He is in good spirit.
Okay.
And the love and attention and affection that he has been able to get from his family and his family members have served him and have served him well. Mr. O'Neill, as you know, he actually took over as Chief Minister in 1995. He was elected in his own right in 1999 and in actually 2007, and served as Chief Minister and as the first Premier, and represented the 9th District for quite a while. So his legacy and his commitment to service in the Virgin Islands can never be questioned, and his whole accomplishments.
What recommendations would you suggest to the next person who serves as president of the VI party? And what expectations do you have for the next person who sits in the chair in which you sat?
Okay, fine. That's a very important question, because I feel that there are, the way in which I mentioned it in my announcement was that there are new talents out there. There are those persons, if we are going to be mindful and if we're going to be truthful about a whole concept that the future belongs to the youth, future belongs to young folks, then we must be prepared to give them a chance to train in that particular arena, so that if you give the mantle, then they have a proper training ground that they had gone through, and bringing out new ideas. We have a lot of work left to be done. So although the foundation has been laid, the fact is that each of the parties should have proper headquarters. Each of the parties should have a particular, whether it's a part-time or full-time personnel, so that folks who are interested in actual governance, who are interested in participating, can come and find ways in which this could be done. People have always bemoaned the fact that we have a situation where candidates seem to get ready on the 46th month of a 48-month period. So give themselves just 2 months to come out to the particular public and say, well, I am here and I'm ready to serve. But the public is truly asking for greater participation by those who wish to come forward and offer themselves as candidates. And this has to be done in an arena where folks don't feel as if their livelihoods and everything will be threatened, because politics is quite a task. It is the ultimate, well, not the ultimate service,
well,
but it's one of those
one
services.
of those services.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Malone, we will take a break, and when we come back, I will have some more questions for you. And then, folks, we would invite you to call us with your comments at 300-1949, or if you care to text us a message, you may do so at 300-1950. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Police have gone right at the last left turn, you know.
Virgin, the directions are got to go straight.
Oh, you go and tell me about them stupid directions when the map is right here.
Let me see the map. Let me see the map,
So
man.
now you want to see the map?
Give me the map, man.
All right.
No, we passed there, so already.
Oh.
Make a right, go 100 meters, and that's the destination.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from getting lost. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Thank you, Yellow Pages, from Family Support Network, for your generosity and your donation towards our cause. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
On behalf of Global Directories, the parent company of Yellow Pages BVI, we wish students, parents, and our educators in the Virgin Islands every success in this school year. At Yellow Pages, we care.
Thank you, BVI Yellow Pages.
The nice thing about the National Bank is that they are actually true to their concept of being a national bank in terms of understanding the needs of all islands. They understood what we needed at New Horizon Ferry Services in expanding our offerings to improve shipping across our islands. Because we have been in this business now for many years and established a good relationship with the bank, they saw our track record and they understood what we needed to expand our business. And together, we have formed a great partnership that is helping our business to grow.
Paradise means being able to expand our business at the right time.
National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official Bank of Paradise.
And what kind of party this?
Them they bring the music.
Seriously?
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from party disasters. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Yes, folks, we are back. At the point at which we had a break, Mr. Malone, you indicated that there needs to be a mechanism whereby the public, that's my interpretation, needs to be more actively involved in the funding of systems that would lead to better government. Should the responsibility of a party be that of the public?
Well, yeah, because, and it's not only in relation to funding, you have to understand that participation have to be at all levels, because I truly believe in the democratic process. I truly believe that, that if you're going to go out every 4 years or whatever it is during a particular process and ask people to display their confidence in you through their votes, then you have an opportunity and you have an obligation to make sure that that this level of trust is not misplaced, is not
or it's
thrown
not for
out the
sale?
door. Well, it's not. Well, for sale is one of the things that are against the law, but it is not displaced and it's not abused, because at the end of the day, the accountability part is where it comes in. Too many times you have persons come out, asked to be elected, are elected, and they're left alone without having to give proper accountability. And the report cards, even if they're marked, they're not marked properly, and it should not be that the only time that they're going to take this exam or being examined should be at the fourth year in that cycle. It should be a continuous.
Okay, if for the sake of argument, one said that the cost of running a meaningful campaign is $1 million, and you have 2 parties or 3 parties, are you suggesting that perhaps it would be prudent for the country to allocate in its national budget $3 million for that process? And at the end of the day, every penny needs to be accounted for.
Well, I'm not sure that that I would advocate that level of public funding for it. I've always noted that when you look at the other overseas territories that are akin to us, when you look at Bermuda, when you look at Cayman Islands, Turks and Caicos, Anguilla, and the others, right now, I was reading just last week that there is a $60,000 limit per candidate, be it if they are independent or with a party. They have a limit of $60,000
that can be spent.
That can be spent. So there are already precedents within the overseas territories for campaign finance limits. It is important because I feel that when you are a population of $20, $30, $40,000 and you're going to end up spending $2 and $3 and $4 million, that money has to come from somewhere. But the fact is that so influence get peddled in the middle, but to campaign, because even to get airtime for radio, airtime for TV, and all of the other mediums through which this is done, it does cost money. But the fact is that should a person who would wish to participate be exempt from it due to lack of financing? Well, probably not, but it is your ability to go and
find the money somewhere, somehow.
Yes,
to be able
involve the public, because Bernie Sanders, for instance, have always bragged that it was through $27 maximum per person that he engaged millions of Americans to donate to this and was able to raise the fundings.
Do you anticipate pushback to this as a means of having a meaningful campaign?
Well, the fact is that even Trump, as much money as he have,
he's reluctant to put more money in.
Well, not only reluctant, the fact is that no one individual would want to spend like $500 million to fund a particular campaign. So this is why the the particular Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they too are responsible for helping to raise the funds. But the fact remains that if you do not have the funding to finance your particular operations, then the message gets lost.
Gets lost. Okay.
Yes.
Is there a reluctance by eligible people in the country to participate in the political activity?
Well, yes.
And do you have, as one leaving the presidential seat, what would you say to the young man or the young woman you should participate for the following reasons. And what would these reasons be?
Okay, fine. Because if there is one message that I said before that I would like to have placed out there, it is our responsibility to shape the future of these islands, and it could only be done by participation. We cannot expect that the burden be taken by just 13 persons, and they're not in some way assisted in by the general public from time to time through the major issues facing the country. I contend that if we continue to dabble in the minor and forgetting the major issues that are out there, how do we grow the economy? How do we make sure that our judiciary remain relevant? Relevant, and how do we make sure that our whole social life and whole social fabric, for instance, if you go into what is the particular correlation between the economics of a country, how well people feel that they can participate and feed their families as it relates to crime. Because crime and economics have some kind of correlation. And I think that we have to look in terms of how we keep this country safe by making sure that we give everybody a meaningful employment and or participation in the investment of the country.
From observation, I have noted that you may have in this cycle 13 people who are contesting the election, and a number of them lose and they disappear. Why is that happening, and what can any political party or the president of any party do to ensure that people just don't participate one time and because of losing, disappear?
Well, one of the challenge, and you had asked a question I did not answer it. One of the challenge of service is that too often folks come and they want to be a candidate for election, but they do not have this culture or of service. They haven't served in the Boys Brigade. Well, I'll call that one first because I was in there. They haven't served in the church choir. They haven't served in the Scouts. They haven't served in the
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. They haven't served in Lions. They haven't served in Rotary. And all of these. And service, when you come in, you offer yourself for service, it's because you have a culture of service. And you would find that too many people don't have that on the resume. You can't have certain tests in the Constitution that will have you, quote unquote, deemed ready. So we have to look at this. If you have and folks also believe that only by running for office, they can offer themselves for service. The fact is that from '95, I had been asked by our late Chief Minister to be a candidate on the Virgin Islands Party ticket, but I knew then that I was not prepared, nor was I ready. So we have to have the preparedness, you have to have the willingness, you have to have the experience, and being able. All those four components must be a part of.
Are you forgetting the fifth one?
Of that service.
Financially ready?
Financially ready. Well, the fact is that yes, because it is not an arena that you go and you will find financial independence. And if you find it, you might find a life of misery also. So the fact is that that life of service comes, it doesn't come naturally to some folks, but if you're going to seek to serve others through elected office, then your history, your culture, or your whole way of life have to be reflected in this service.
And service. And service above self. And what's your motto?
We serve.
We serve.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you actually tested me?
Yes. Because as a Rotarian, I know that it's service above self, and as a past Lion, it's we serve.
We serve. Well, present Lion. President of the Lions.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, because you were a past Lion. That's right.
How?
That's good.
But I don't have a penchant for politics.
There we go. Well, no, because your service don't lead you and say that you serve only because you wanted to be a politician. Good
evening. You speak your mind. Could you please give your input?
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, sir.
2 questions. Mr. Malone, what have you found as outgoing president have been the 2 biggest challenges for the Virgin Islands Party right now?
Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
What's the next question?
Okay, you have another question?
Sure. So, also the 2 biggest challenges he thinks the country is facing right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions.
Well, the challenge that the Virgin Islands Party face is one in which we must be able to attract the level of interest in persons wishing to serve in elected office or in the executive or in the administration, because as I contend again, serving as only a candidate is not the only way in which you can participate. You can serve in many different ways. So we must be able to continue to attract this and attract it well. I'm not taking it as basically a challenge only for the Virgin Islands Party, just in case one might feel this way, because service and having the best people come out is a challenge throughout even first world. If you look at the Republican Party or the Democratic Party
of the United
in
States,
the United States, you can conclude that they are challenged in terms of whether or not they got the best talent to come out. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no, because I'm not dabbling in the politics of the United States.
We're not.
And if
Well,
you
we're
look
just
at
stating
if you look at
what
the
others
Labour,
have stated.
if you look at the Labour Party in the UK, you will find again that the Labour Party has been challenged to find a leader for over 20 years. And I'm not sure if they have settled themselves in terms of who the leadership is. So it's a challenge all through, and it's a challenge that we have here in the particular Virgin Islands Party. We also challenged in a way in which making sure, I am peeved with the fact that we were unable to get a particular central office that the membership and all those persons interested not only in becoming candidates, as I said before, but in participating.
Even in volunteering.
That is correct. And in the country, we have 2 arenas. Number one, our whole economics, because if you look at the level of where tourism is and the level of which financial services, so those 2 main pillars, we have spoken time and time again in terms of the diversification of the economies, having a 3rd or 4th economic pillar. And I'm not sure if we can still say that we haven't dropped the ball where it comes to agriculture, for instance. I was speaking to one young man today, and he was bemoaning the fact that there's a whole lot of money to be achieved from being fully involved in agriculture. We have dropped the ball to some degree there, and when we look at the vast fishing industry and so forth. So diversification of the industry is a challenge that we have in the Virgin Islands. And one of the major challenges, because all of the I'm looking for the proper word, but all of the concerns being raised by the governor as it relates to how we conduct our affairs, these are things that we have to continuously look at, because no doubt financial services it is under attack. We have to look in terms of how we build our tourism industry, but we have good governance as part of that, which we can make sure that we do and do well.
So these are the 2 challenges that you see our government or any government will have.
That's correct.
Now, if one were to look at agriculture as something that we should seriously look at, I would invite you to talk to that when we come back after the break.
Okay, thank you very much.
spaghetti in boiling water, add tomatoes, sweet peppers, and onion, and presto, you have spaghetti marinara.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from last-minute dinner dilemmas. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Welcome to our newly renovated Botanic Service Station to serve you better and faster. We carry Sol Gasoline, the best gas that will take you further and keep your engine running cleaner. To make that delicious meal at home or restaurant, we have LPGs from 20 pounds to 100 pounds, readily available for your easy pickup right here at Botanic Station. While you are here, check out our deli for finger-licking snacks from pizzas, hot wings, patties, cakes, all made fresh every day, and cold drinks that's always cold. Need oil for your vehicle? We carry a wide selection of vehicle maintenance products. We are open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily.
Alz Marine Air Conditioning and Refrigeration specialize in servicing and repairing units such as Daikin, Marine Air Tech, Mitsubishi, TGM, York. Any type that you call, we can install. We also work on commercial and residential units in houses, boats, cars, and company buildings. If you even need some cool breeze for your doghouse or horse stable, we would not hesitate. We are always able. No job is too big or too small for Alz Marine Limited. For our home and restaurant customers, we also service and install all your appliances such as ovens, stoves, washers, dryers, refrigerators, and freezers. You can contact us at 494-4529 or 340-3791 or email us alzmarine@surfbvi.com. Alz Marine is located in Purcell Estate Road, Town, Tortola. Alz Marine Limited, your number one choice.
Oh, you should have gone right at the last left turn, you know.
Virgin, the directions are going to go straight.
Oh, you're going to tell me about them stupid directions when the map is right here.
Let me see the map. Let me see the map, man.
So now you want to see the map?
Give me the map, man.
All right.
No, we passed there so already.
Oh.
Make a right, go 100 meters, and that's the destination.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from getting lost. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, when we ended, we talked about challenges. And Caribbean agriculture is a major challenge. And I think I understand this young man's plight. However, agriculture as we knew it then can't really be seen as it ought to be today. One, we don't have the land to do large-scale agricultural activities. Secondly, we need public input, and that public input should be education, the financial necessity for fishing, or even using the greenhouse technology and marketing. How would a VIP government or any government approach this particular issue if we are going to counterbalance the loss of financial services or the loss of banking privileges?
Well, the way in which you framed your question supposes a number of things in terms of how would a VIP government
any
do
government
no,
for
no,
that matter.
Okay, fine. Any government sounds better and so forth, because I had made no announcements other than the fact that
you're retiring from. I understand
yes,
that.
Okay, great. No, as I'm saying, the debate on exactly what needs to be done has to be looked at not only in terms of the government members, but by the actual population. So it has to be studied. It has to be studied well because I know that there are major investments being made in the greenhouse technology.
Mm-hmm.
There are major investments being made in other particular quarters. There are avid farmers, and in terms of the traditional methods of farming. So all of that had to be looked at, and I wasn't really prepared in full to address those particular issues. So on the broader scale, enough to say that the economy have to be actually diversified. Enough to say that we cannot solely depend on tourism and the financial services sector. Enough to say that agriculture has to be examined in its full context, and the fishing industry and other industries that we begin to look at. But only from that broad base point of view that I was looking at in terms of where we would go. But in that time, and I know that I'm going to get my 5 minutes to actually wrap this up, but in the 17 years that I've served as president, we have to make sure that there is a full executive body, that of the vice president's post, that of the secretary, an assistant secretary, treasurer, assistant treasurer, public relations. And it is only through a body of hard working volunteers that you would be able to accomplish the administrative arm of what is required in any of these parties. There are challenges on all of the parties. It's not only with the Personalist Party, but I am sure that if you look at the administration challenges that the NDP may have, or the United Party may have, or PEP may have, and so forth, there are always going to be these challenges.
What is the reluctance for people to volunteer in any capacity, in any political party?
Yes, and I think that is the core of what I want to make sure that the population understand. We cannot continue to believe that we're protecting our salary or mortgage or tuition and our contracts and give up the entire country, because there is fear of victimization that pops in, whether it's perceived or actual. The fact is that folks are reluctant to participate. The word that they give me is that you have a reluctance because of victimization. You also have through the civil service, because I think you have 3.5 to 4,000 civil servants, and by the very nature of it, whether you are on the permanent secretary level or in the administration, or even in terms of the general daily level, you are exempt. You are not allowed to participate on any level. And that could be well true for persons who are on the higher level, the permanent secretaries and those head of departments and so forth. But it must have some level by which it is not as stringent, because they're not setting policies or they're not carrying out the policies. There's administrative roles. And to exempt them from the service, you're taking about 4,000 persons out of the mix. And they can only participate on the last 60 days of the 4-year cycle. This is why public servants that want to participate in the process, they have to wait until the last 60 days or wait until retirement, some 25 years later, some 30 years later, or some at age.
You're then suggesting that perhaps in the new constitutional reform process, there should be some kind of consideration of change for what you would like to see happen.
Yeah, because I'm sure it would not be setting precedents in terms of how you can participate. But when you're going to take 30,000 population, you have a working population, I'm not sure whether it's 15 or 16,000, and you're going to take 4 out of that, and you said you cannot say anything, you cannot do anything, no matter what level, be it first tier, second tier, third tier, because I'm sure that the pay scales will tell you basically the level of your engagement with actual government, and even to civil servants are afraid even to be seen close to Carvin Malone, for instance, because I can be seen with them, but they can't be seen with me because they fear that the rules will not allow that and so forth. So there are ways in which we are leaving out a large part of our population.
It brings us back then, Calvin, to the whole question of constitutional review, reform, and how we can participate in making sure that some of these changes take place that would be of best interest to the entire country.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And, as I mentioned before, again, that we'll have to do it, and we'll have to do it carefully, because at the end of the day, we can't have where you have civil servants also who are there to actually administer their tasks and duties, and at the same time they are out playing politics. So there is a line that you simply have to keep looking at. And
now, if there's anything that I gleaned from some of what you said, it would be, I think we have another call. Okay, I'm sorry. The person will call back.
Well, if you can actually mention the number again so that they can...
Okay, the number is 300-1949. Okay, here we go. Good evening. Welcome to Speak Your Mind.
Good evening.
Thanks for your call.
While you have Mr. Malone there, let me ask him a couple more questions.
Sure.
One of the issues that the Virgin Islands has struggled with has been something that we are seeing popping up now globally, which is this concept of maybe globalization. But as we have seen in the UK and we have seen in the US, the concerns about persons either losing their business or losing their jobs. What is your opinion on that current state within the Virgin Islands right now? Whether there's a push to pull back from globalization, or we proceed with this global push, multinational companies providing the perceived benefits.
And the next question?
No, I think that was it.
No, that's it.
Okay, fine.
Okay, thanks a lot for your call.
Okay, thank you, because we'll have to look at this concept of globalization in the BVI context from I look at it from 2 or 3 different angles, because if you take, for instance, the Premier is currently out in China, bringing the globe to us. So when you look at globalization, we have to look in terms of the financial services sector and the clients being served. I do feel that those tasks that should be done by our citizen and by the prepared workers or employees of the Virgin Islands, if you're going to train anyone, then train our people. You can't be, quote unquote, having to import folks from all over the globe to have them trained in the Virgin Islands for jobs that Virgin Islanders could be trained for.
Okay.
So if we're going to have those levels of employees, you have a different level, of course, again, because you have first tier, second tier, third tier, and so forth. So it is quite discerning that you would have the managers and those levels that you must bring in, because they're going to be key personnel in each of these, whether it's legal firms or trust companies or whatever it is. They're going to be key personnel, and once they pass the GATE test, there's going to be a debate as to whether or not you need more legal firms, whether or not you need more trust companies, whether or not you need more whatever it is, and so forth. But then that is a debate that the country itself must determine, and once you do have it, then the spin-offs cannot be taken away from us also. We cannot have the global company coming in, getting the global red map, and then the spin-offs still not being felt by the particular population. You must protect jobs. You must protect the persons who are going to be doing it. Yes, you're going to be able to modernize and making sure that registration of companies could well be done with a tick of a button anywhere in the world. But you have to then look in terms of how do you, quote unquote, be efficient. How can you be efficient and yet not be so efficient that your population cannot benefit
In
from
other
any
words,
of it.
what are I'm looking for the word.
Well,
It's
spin-offs
just
and
the spin-offs and added value.
The added value.
Okay.
The added values must be realized at all times. And if you're not going to do this, then your population is always going to ask, well, for whom is the development? That becomes very important for us in terms of how we look at this. And then when you look even in terms of the tourism industry and the construction industry, you must have those particular small businesses must be protected at all corners.
At all times.
You cannot, again, have the spin-offs and then you're going to have this wide net that you're going to enhance a person coming in with duty-free status and free this, and then they're going to get a particular trade license to do
things that you
things that
normally
our population to do. So all the spin-offs should be born here.
Okay, Calvin.
Yes.
Just like everything, a good thing will come to an end.
Yes.
And I will now invite you to use the next 3-4 minutes to tell us something about your experiences, whether you liked them or you didn't like them, and what the future may hold for you.
Well, in terms of the future, in terms of what I have made the announcement on, the fact remains that we have a Virgin Islands Party that is now 45 years since its charter. We have challenges in there. We have to look in terms of new leadership at all levels, or we have to advance our particular present leadership and get new blood in so that we can then look in terms of how we protect these Virgin Islands and the Virgin Islands that we love. Mm-hmm. We must be able to get the involvement, receive the involvement of young persons who basically have a particular tradition of service in their blood, because service-oriented persons are required. You cannot get the experience until you become some level of service-oriented and so forth. So I will make sure that when you look at this elections coming up on the 30th of November, the fact is that 21 days from now, which is November 9th, we're going to have names being submitted for persons who may wish to have on the Congress as actually decided by the district committees. Come on the 23rd of November, we have names of the persons wishing to run for the chairman and the presidency and the secretary and the particular different posts that we have. We have had, in the 45 years of the particular party, we have had participation from a number of volunteers, and you have my dad, he's looking, and he's one of the founding members of the party. He was also president of the party back then also. We have Naomi Turnbull, she's alive and doing well, and she has been a very active, the first secretary of the party. We have Mr. Donald Pickering, he is still with us. So I take my hat off to all of these persons who've run. We have the chairman, Mr. Alf O'Neill. He's actually coming on well. We have Honorable Fraser as our last chairman here, and he's a sitting chairman. And we must be able to take our hat off to them and participate, be involved, shape the community that you want.
Okay, Mr. Malone, it was really good having you on Speak Your Mind. And it has been a pleasure chatting with you, nudging you in a direction that you didn't want to go. But folks, like Mr. Malone said, when you want to lead, you have to volunteer. You have to get involved. Until next week, I am John Lewis, thanking Mr. Malone, and we hope that you can be with us next week as we speak our minds.
Thank you, great, and thank you very much for having me here.